Hello everyone, welcome back to the Unite Pieces channel. Today we will recap the action-adventure movie from 2014, the continuation of the second sequel, entitled The Expendables 3. The movie tells the story of Barney, Drummer, Trench and the rest of the group reuniting to fight Stonebanks, one of the founders of the Expendables, who is now an illegal and ruthless arms dealer. So, sit tight, prepare some snacks, and enjoy the story. The film opens with an armored train carrying one of the fugitives to Denzalia prison, a prison inhabited by heavyweight criminals. Just 10 kilometers in front of the prison, the Expendables team set a trap on the tracks. Apparently they planned to release the fugitive who turned out to be Barney's old friend, and also a former member of the Expendables. By boarding a helicopter, they then attacked the train guards from the air. After the train passed the trap, they then descended into the carriages and managed to find the target fugitive who was known as Doc. But instead of running away immediately after being released, Doc beat up the guards and the driver. He then deliberately maximized the speed of the train to destroy the prison. The Expendables team then took Doc to the runway and transferred him to the plane. On the flight, Doc was introduced to the members of the Expendables consisting of Toll Road, Gunner, and Lee. Doc was then told by Barney if he was not allowed to go home first, because now they were on a mission to capture an arms dealer named Victor Mint, who was going to sell bombs on a dock in Somalia. Shortly after the Expendables team finally arrived in Somalia, they met up with another member, Hail Caesar, who was disguised as a fisherman. Arriving at the dock, Barney, Lee, Doc and Toll moved to find the target, while Caesar and Gunner watched them from the boat. After eliminating several guards, Doc took the task of observing the transaction from the crane. He also moved Barney, Lee, and Toll to the top of the cargo, so that Barney could see the figure of Victor Mint from a height. Soon Victor Mint finally arrived by helicopter, but Barney and Doc were very surprised to find that the target named Victor Mint turned out to be Barney's old partner named Stonebank, who was also one of the founders of the Expendables, who was killed by Barney for his evil behavior and was declared dead. Barney, who did not accept that Stone was still alive, shot Stone blindly, but Stone managed to escape, and Barney instead received a counterattack from Stone's men. They then escaped by driving a pickup truck. In the middle of the chase, the car they were riding in caught fire. It forced Barney and the others to move to one of the trucks driven by the enemy. When all the teams regrouped, Barney ordered the team to stop and fight the rest of the troops chasing them. However, after subverting the rest of the troops, Stone appeared and shot Caesar. Not only that, he also dropped a bomb that made all the Expendables team bounce into the sea. After the explosion subsided, Barney tried to help Caesar, but the help was useless, so they had to take Caesar to the hospital for further treatment. Knowing the enemy they faced was very dangerous, Barney also left his lucky ring for Caesar and decided to change the capture plan. At that time Barney was approached by Trench, who advised Barney to retire, because Stone could have killed Barney very easily. Barney of course rejected Trench's advice, and chose to fight Stone. Barney then met with the head of CIA operations named Max Drummer, who was assigned to replace Mr. Church's position. Max was very angry with Barney for failing to capture Stonebank, and lost track of him, especially since they knew that Stonebank was very difficult to track. Max then gave Barney one more chance to catch Stonebank. If Barney failed, then he and his team would be jailed on charges of embezzlement. Because this mission could endanger the lives of the Expendables team, Barney also gathered all the team and told them that he would not hire them anymore. Barney also advised them to enjoy a peaceful life while they were still alive. It certainly disappointed Lee, because while in the Expendables he and others were ready to die for the Expendables. But when the Expendables team faced severe problems, Barney left them. Barney just shut up and then left the room. He then headed to Las Vegas to meet with an old friend named Bonaparte. Barney's arrival here was not to do business, but to ask Bonaparte to find new younger team members for the Expendables. At first Bonaparte refused, but he finally agreed after learning that Stonebank was still alive. Bonaparte then took Barney to the first recruit named Thorne, who had the ability to hack. After that Barney showed New York, and went to a nightclub and met the second recruit, who was a woman named Luna. The next recruit was named Galgo. At first Barney thought if Galgo was a young man, but when he took off his mask it turned out that he was old. Although Galgo begged to enter the Expendables, but Barney refused because Galgo was too old. Barney and Bonaparte then went to an airbase in California, and met a third recruit named Mars. He was proficient in using weapons and Barney immediately liked him. Bonaparte and Barney then went to Mexico to meet the last recruit, who was then fighting in the underground arena. He was named John Smile, who was a former soldier and moved into a profession as a fighter. Although in the fight John lost, Barney still included him in his new team. Short story: after Barney returned to headquarters, he met again with Max, who provided Stonebanks criminal data and Stone's whereabouts, who was known to be transacting weapons at an exhibition building. But on this mission Max asked Barney to still arrest Stonebank to be tried in The Hague. That of course made Barney disagree a little, because criminals like Stonebank should be executed on the spot. The next day, Barney and his team prepared all the equipment to capture Stone. At that time Barney's old team came and assessed that Barney's new team was still amateurish. After everything was ready Barney then set off with his new team, assisted by Trench as co-pilot. On his flight, John asked Barney to tell the reason why he wanted to catch Stone. Barney then gave Stone's criminal file, and that's where John found out if Stone was a former member and co-founder of the Expendables. The team then landed in Romania, and spent their time observing Stonebank during his journey to make the transaction. After observing all the routes of the exhibition building, Thorne then gave a carefully arranged plan, where he would hack the building's security system, while the rest would carry out the attack while the transaction was in progress. Soon they began to infiltrate the building, and began to take out the thugs who were on guard. When all the teams were in their respective positions, Thorne immediately turned off all the lighting, followed by the team blindly shooting at Stonebank and his henchmen. Thorne then lured Stone into a room, where in the room there was already Luna, who quickly paralyzed Stone. Barney and the team then immediately took Stone to the van, and drove to the runway. On the way, Stone confessed that he was one of the founders of the Expendables with Barney, but he became evil after learning that the illegal arms business was more profitable, rather than dirty work and being a clown in the Expendables. In the middle of a heated conversation, their car is suddenly shot at by Stone's men, which causes the car to overturn and ejects Barney and Stone. Barney tries to grab his gun, but he is shot first, which makes him fall under the bridge. Stone's men then plan to execute the Expendables team members, but Stone forbids it and will use them to lure Barney. The next day Barney was found by Stone's henchmen on the riverbank, but before they contacted Stone, Barney first shot them with his gun. Barney then returned to the runway and met with Trench, who was sent a video from Stone, in which Stone had taken Barney's team hostage, and would kill them if Barney did not come within 48 hours. Barney and Trench then return to the headquarters to retrieve the weaponry. Arriving there, Trench fools Barney's actions, who intends to meet Stone alone. But Barney ignores Trench and will still go alone because after all he must be responsible for the problems that befell his men. When Barney was preparing weapons, Galgo suddenly appeared, who somehow managed to find Barney's headquarters, because Galgo was chatty and kept begging to come along. In the end Barney let Galgo join his mission. When the two were about to take off, Barney was suddenly surprised by the arrival of Lee, Gunner, Toll and Dox, who confronted him in the middle of the road while wearing a battlesuit. Seeing that his old team did not want to separate, Barney also allowed them to come with him. On his way, Barney was contacted by Max, who provided information that Stone was in Afghanistan, which is a small country that cooperates with Stone in buying and selling weapons and crime syndicates. Max then decided to help Barney directly. He went to the runway and met with Trench, who was then with former Expendables member, Yin Yang, who now works for Trench. The three of them then left for Afghanistan. Meanwhile, upon arrival in Afghanistan, Barney and the team continued their journey on foot to the hostage location. They then found an abandoned building where the new team was being held hostage. There they managed to find the new team and release them very easily. However, it turns out that Stone has installed C4 bombs throughout the building, and will explode within 45 seconds from now. Fortunately, Thorne can still secure the explosives by hacking through the device carried by Gunner. He managed to stop the bomb, but unfortunately the device's battery is only 9% left, so if the battery runs out, the bomb will still explode at that time. Outside, Stone sent hundreds of armed troops along with tanks belonging to the army of General Afghanistan, and from here the battle between the Expendables against Stonebank occurred. In the war, the Expendables team struggled, because the enemy attacked too much. It made some teams including Doc prefer to pretend to faint rather than fight. When the team's defeat was on the edge, Trench, Max and Yin Yang came at the right time and helped them by firing automatic weapons. John then went into action and beat up some thugs, then took their motorcycles. Although the team was able to defeat most of the enemies without getting killed, they began to lose hope after Stone sent more troops. Knowing this, Max asked the team to get on the helicopter and leave the battle. On the other hand, after seeing all the general's troops useless against Barney, Stone decided to intervene. He went into the building and invited Barney to fight. After a while, the device's battery showed 1%, which meant that soon the bomb would explode, destroying the building. In the fight, Barney finally managed to end Stone, shooting him with several bullets. Barney then immediately climbs up following the helicopter. Just as the bomb starts to explode, he runs as fast as he can, and finally manages to grab the rope leading to the helicopter. They all then leave Afghanistan, and return to the United States to celebrate their success, and celebrate the entry of new members including Galgo. At that time Caesar has begun to recover and returns the lucky ring to Barney. Meanwhile Doc and Lee compete in throwing knives at the dark board. Surprisingly, they both hit the target, but Doc's knife then falls, which makes Lee a little arrogant, and the movie ends. What do you think of this movie? Please write your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, and support our channel by subscribing, so that we stay motivated to create more interesting content for you to enjoy. And until next time.